I would like to know right from the source, since you are the guy, who is supposedly secretly working with Big Ramy. Is that true or not?
Shh, Ramy, quiet. Oh, are we on the air? What was the question? I'm supposedly secretly working with Ramy.
Yeah. It seems as though Neil Hill is no longer in the picture anymore, but according to Nick Trigilli, he guarantees that you are secretly working with Ramy, according to his sources. So I figured, what source can be better than you?
Does his sources, or does Nick Trigilli want to make a bet? Because I'm willing to make that bet. The answer, of course, is the truth hurts, as we say on RxMuscle or on Heavy Muscle Radio. And no, I am not working with Ramy. And for God's sakes, I'm not secretly working with Ramy, which is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Well, if he looks great, Chris is going to come out and say, look what I did. And if he doesn't look good, he says, no, I was never working with him. Listen, that offer came across my table in 2017, actually.
To secretly work with him?
Yeah.
And you turned it down?
Yeah, people reached out to me and said, can you, secretly work with him? And everybody knows. You know what I said? My mouth is too big.
Right.
So that's not going to work. No, I'm not explicitly working with them. I'm not implicitly working with them. I'm not working with them in the open. And the idea that I'm sneaking behind people's backs or something, or doing something covert or secretive is just it's beyond the pale and ridiculous. So whatever sources Nick has, those fake sources have to be. What are we doing? It's 50 lashes.
Now, did anyone actually reach out to you to try to work with Ramy?
What's that?
Has anyone even reached out to you to even try to work with Ramy?
No.
What about Ramy?
No.
So these stories are completely fabricated then.
Unequivocally.
Yeah. Now, is it true that Big Ramy was actually in Kuwait but not training at Oxygen Gym? Is that true?
Yeah, he's in Kuwait. I spoke to Ramy a little bit yesterday, but we didn't discuss because somebody else wanted to. The rumors are everywhere. And
why do you think there's so much drama every single year surrounding Ramy and who's helping him? And isn't this? You think this is more of a distraction for Ramy than anything?
Yeah, it's a distraction. Well, there's always the drama, because can you imagine the gurus out there right now trying to wiggle in and prep him? I could prep him if I used my BlackBerry. I could start today. I just I get him on speed dial. I could say, okay, let's start tomorrow, and that would then. Nick would say, see, I told you so. But just despite those rumors, I won't. But there's always a lot of drama because Ramy, of course, was under wraps with Beta for a while. Couldn't give interviews. Couldn't speak. And even though he's not under wraps anymore, he still doesn't grant he doesn't do interviews. He's never been on RxMuscle. And you know what? I respect that though, Dave, because not everybody has to get on and sit down with Dave Palumbo or someone else and say, the details of every detail of, this is how my prep is going, this is how my life is going, this is how my wife is, this is how my kids are. To some, in defense of him, it's no one's business,
But sometimes it's also cathartic, you do an interview.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And maybe everything starts to make sense.
That's why I still talk to him so that he can let crap off his chest.
So you guys have more of a friend relationship than a coaching relationship.
We have, what, Dave, is we have, listen, people muscle in on opportunists galore, muscle in on Ramy. I'm not an opportunist. I don't need to. I could if I wanted to. I could be, do that, and I could be coaching him, I'm sure, if I wanted to, or, weasel my way back in. But I think we have a very good understanding of each other. We have a legitimate friendship. I actually, can honestly say that, I always would say that I want the best for Ramy. And you know me, when some people I say, no, I don't want the best for them. That's just me. That's a terrible attribute of mine. I don't want them to see them be successful.
That's right.
I'm trying to learn to get over that. But the truth is, I like Ramy enough to see, I hope the best for him always.
Why do you think that Ramy?
Because nobody can say, nobody can say anything negative really about Ramy. It's hard to come up with a negative thing to say about him.
He's a genuinely good guy. Every time I talk to him, he seems like he has a good heart. Why do you think it is that Ramy is training at the competition, Platinum Gym over there in Kuwait, rather than at Oxygen? Because it seems like he had posted a few weeks ago that him and Bader, he was praising Bader on his Instagram.
Well, let's find out from Nick's sources why. How about that?
That to me seems the most unusual, right?
Huh?
That seems to be the biggest story there. I mean,
I think it's a very big story.
Gym.
No, believe me, because he had the opportunity to live in anywhere he wants in the Middle East, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, he's back in Kuwait probably because, he feels comfortable there. And
is he living there or is he just visiting?
His kids are there. What's that?
Is he living there or visiting?
That I don't know. I don't know. I just know he's there right now and training. I don't know if he's going to be training continuously there, but I was surprised when I heard that. I was like, wow, he is in Kuwait.
Right.
Small country. It's only right.
All right. Now, since you're not only are you the technician, you might be the new Swami. What's your prediction? Will Ramy compete this year?
See, I didn't ask him. I spoke to him yesterday.
I don't think Ramy will give you the right answer anyway, or a real answer. I think you can use your intuition and tell me what you think.
No,
I know you had said you
I don't
didn't
think
think
he's competing this year. I don't think he's going to compete this year.
Okay.
I think that it's a regrouping year. I mean, I could be wrong, and it's just my opinion. It's not it's not me with some fake sources through text messages that someone said. But like I said on the last show, I was right on New York. Tampa 7 weeks away. He's 145 kilograms right now, whatever that is.
I think that isn't that the reason why supposedly him and Neil Hill are not working together anymore, because Neil told him, hey, why don't you wait till next year? I don't think you're going to be ready, which is probably the right advice, I would think.
I don't know. I don't know why Neil and Ramy didn't. I didn't want to get into that, and I don't know the reasons why they're not working.
Now you experienced.
You should ask Neil. I mean, Neil texts you like a maniac when
you experienced something similar when Ramy stopped working with you. You kind of didn't know about it. Why do you think that? I mean, I think it's disrespectful to not tell Neil, hey, I'm not working with you anymore. I mean, there's got to be a line of communication between coach and athlete. Even if you want to break the relationship, at least have the decency to call the guy up and say, hey, Neil, you know what? I'm not going to work with you, whatever. I'm going to move on, whatever. I'm looking for another coach. Whatever it is, at least have the decency. Neil doesn't give a shit, you know what I mean? I think that was really bad that Neil had to find out on the internet that he wasn't working with Ramy anymore.
Yeah, so what is the question? Should
do you think that, why, would you, I know you didn't like it when you found out that way. Don't you think that?
No, I didn't.
He's a poor communicator?
No, I didn't. I didn't think it was I didn't think it was a good decision. That's all. I mean, I thought it was a good decision to start working with me. Then he stopped working with me. Then I thought it was another good decision for him to start working with me. Then he stopped working with me. And the irony is that both times when he stopped, I found out through the internet.
Yeah.
And I just chalked that up to, deep down inside, Ramy's a shy guy, and it's his bizarre. He thinks people are going to take it like me, like personally, like, oh no, yeah, we got to work together. You can be Mr. Olympia. I mean, this is the ridiculous number. To call him, for Neil to call him really like unprofessional is unprofessional. I mean, you don't have to like.
Yeah, but look, I know you were pissed off at some level because you're
you're wrong. You're wrong because I was pissed off because the decision was not exclusively his.
Right. But he didn't tell
Okay,
you
so
either.
you can backtrack. You can backtrack and put one and one together and figure out who had their thumb on that decision.
Right. But don't you think it was monetarily influenced?
It was influenced by being badgered every single solitary day that Chris is prepping you for an Olympia, that that it's not a good idea to work with Chris.
Right.
We can help you. We can do it. We can. And I saw that train wreck coming. Yeah. I predicted that, right?
Yeah.
The irony of ironies of that is, I mean, I was upset for Ramy that the decision was made not exclusively by him.
But Chris, don't you think
upset that I find out on the internet.
Don't you think at some level, though, that Ramy has to take responsibility for making the ultimate final decision? Because he's the guy who can ultimately say yes or no.
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And I think he's pawning it off on these other people. Yeah, there's other people behind the scenes pushing buttons, but ultimately you have the decision-making, capability yourself. And I think that he tries to avoid confrontation, and I think it comes off as wishy-washy.
Well, I mean, I think you summed up that pretty good. He tries to avoid confrontation. He's not a confrontational guy. But just because he's not a confrontational guy and might make what I think in the past decisions that I wouldn't agree with, doesn't mean that he's a bad guy, and doesn't mean that those decisions that, as a prep guy, they don't bother me.
Right. But
that's the thing. They don't bother me. They don't bother me, Dave.
Well, you don't let anything, but you don't let anything bother you like that. But ultimately, the fact that he is indecisive, do you think that somehow psychologically translates over to his competition? I mean, Jay was probably the most decisive Mr. Olympia I've ever seen. Dorian too, and and that's probably why they were so deadly on stage. It almost seems like Ramy can't make up his mind, and that indecisiveness is almost showing in his physique. Is that possible? That it's like a metaphor for the way his career has gone.
Well, I mean, you have to, in bodybuilding to be the best, you have to be very selfish, and I don't think Ramy is a selfish person at all. So by being not selfish at all, he's always opened himself up to people's opinions.
Right.
And, whether you want to process someone's opinion or not, when you're listening to them, they have an effect on you. So they may have an effect on your decision-making ability. They may have a decision on, your psyche. They may have a decision on, a killer instinct, because you're weighing, instead of having a killer instinct, which requires you to be selfish, you're weighing to some degree all this stuff around you. And some part of the stuff around you is, people, let's face it, people love to be around Ramy. They just love to be around Ramy. And the more people you have around you, sometimes, the less clarity you have on what is best for you. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that sums it up perfectly. Well, to reiterate, Chris Aceto has confirmed that the rumor that he is secretly working with Ramy is not true. Chris, I know you have a lot of stuff to do today. I do as well. So for now, I'm Dave Palumbo with Chris, the technician Aceto, for an RxMuscle exclusive news report.